Welcome to episode 2 of the new series I just recently started on my channel. It's called Weakpoint Wednesday. Every single Wednesday I'll be bringing up a new muscle group that might be a weak point in your physique. I'll be going through its anatomy. I'll be giving you ways that you can implement it in the different training splits. I'll also be giving you exercises that I feel are the most optimal for bringing up that weak point. And at the end of every video, I'll also be giving you guys a workout to incorporate into your training. So first, I'd like to define what a weak point is. A weak point is a specific muscle group that's lagging behind in development compared to other muscle groups in your body. And this can be caused by a combination of genetic differences, bad exercise technique, bad exercise form, or even bad exercise selection. So the idea behind weak point training is to specifically emphasize that weak point. So you want to prioritize it in your training split. So you're going to want to increase your training frequency of it, and you're going to want to try to gradually increase volume. I think the number one mistake that I see people make is not specifically targeting that weak point and kind of just trying to overcompensate with the rest of their program by increasing everything just because they feel the need to not let one muscle group take over. But the whole idea between weak point training is to really bring up one specific muscle. So I think you should definitely take the time to focus on one weak point at a time. And I guarantee if you do that, you'll definitely see some noticeable differences as opposed to just trying to increase everything and trying to bring up everything at once. In this week's episode, I'm actually going to be covering the shoulders, but more specifically the side delts. So in order to effectively train the side delts, we need to have an idea of what the shoulder anatomy looks like. So that's what I'm going to be going through first. So the shoulders are actually comprised of 3 different heads. The first is the anterior or the front delt, and that's actually right here. It originates in the scapula and it inserts into the humerus. Most bodybuilders tend to have this muscle being overdeveloped in their physiques just because of the excessive pressing movements that they have in their programs, like the bench press or even the overhead press. So the second muscle of the shoulder is actually the medial delt or the side delt, and that's actually more towards the center of your shoulder, and it actually originates in the top of the scapula and also inserts into the humerus. And actually a nice, well-rounded side delt can actually give a lot to your physique. It can really improve the look, and it can really improve the V-taper that most bodybuilders are after. So yeah, I think a lot of people have overdeveloped front delts, and they don't have that nice round shoulder because they have underdeveloped side delts. Yeah, so that's going to be the focus of this week's episode, is the medial delt. So the third and final head of the shoulder is actually the posterior delt or the rear delt, and that actually inserts a little bit further back on the scapula and actually originates a little bit further back on the scapula and inserts again into the humerus. And this is by far the most underdeveloped part of anybody's shoulder, any bodybuilder's shoulder, just because a lot of pressing goes into a lot of programs and side raises, and people kind of forget about the rear delts and they kind of get neglected. But by doing a lot of rear delt training, you can actually improve your posture. There's a lot of postural benefits to actually doing rear delt training. But like I mentioned, the focus of this week's episode is actually going to be on the side or the medial delt. So yeah, now that we've covered the anatomy of the shoulders, we know how to effectively train them. So now I'm going to go over how you can effectively organize it in one of the common training splits. So before we actually start organizing our shoulder training into a common training split, we need to understand first how much volume and frequency to do for the side delts. So volume recommendations is anywhere from 16 to 22 sets. Because it is a weak point in our physique, we definitely want to prioritize it, and we definitely want to go on the higher end of volume. So we definitely want to push volume here. I would go anywhere from 20 to 22 sets of side delt training. And frequency, you can even go up to 6 times per week for side delt training. So it kind of makes it a little bit easier to spread your training out as well. Just simply because the side delt is actually a very small muscle group, and it can actually recover much quicker than a lot of other muscles. So yeah, like I said, anywhere from I'd go 20 to 22 sets, and I would try to spread that out over in the common training splits that I'm going to go over. I'm going to spread it over 2 or 3 sessions. So the first training split I'd like to go over is actually the upper-lower training split. This is a very popular one. So how you would organize your side, organize and prioritize your side delt training in this training split. So basically on your upper days, I'm going to pull it up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. But actually on your upper days, you're actually going to be prioritizing your side delt training. You're actually going to be going in first and hitting them before you hit any other muscle groups, so you're fresh and full of energy, and you can focus all your attention on bringing up those side delts. So like I said, you're able to do it on both your upper days. I actually included an optional lower day side delt training as well. You'd want to aim to get anywhere from 8 to 10 sets of side delt training on your upper days. So if you do that, you might not need the optional day, but it's there just in case, just because your delts can recover quite quickly and they actually can handle quite a bit of volume. So that's why I chose to include it. But like I said, you don't want to exceed a maximum of 22 sets. So I'm going to be actually giving you exercises. I'm going to be giving you a full workout of how you can actually effectively do this. But that's kind of how you would organize it in an upper-lower split. Now moving on to the push-pull leg split. As you can see, you're starting day one off with a push workout, and you're going to be coming in and hitting your medial delts or your side delts right off the bat, because you want to prioritize them while you're fresh and full of energy before you hit your chest and triceps. And then you're going to be hitting them on both your push days. And as you can see, I have an optional one there on the leg day, which would be day 3, and because I scheduled the rest day on day 4. So if you feel like you need a little bit more time to spread out your side delt training, then you can do it on your leg day. But yeah, I would definitely aim to get like 8 to 10 sets per training session. And the same thing goes for the first training split. You're pretty much trying to do the same thing. You're just organizing your split a little bit differently. So yeah, that rest day comes in handy right after your leg day if you need it on day 3 to do some side delts. So that's kind of how it works for the side delt training with the push-pull leg split. Just make sure you're kind of giving yourself an adequate amount of time. If you're hitting them hard, you kind of want to at least allow for like 1 day in between. It's kind of like the idea, just because you want to be able to come in and be able to hit them with the same intensity, and you want them to be able to be fully recovered, because that's what honestly makes the muscle grow, which is the recovery process, and the nutrition and everything else that you do outside the gym. So the gym is just a breakdown of the muscle, and that's just the first step. But definitely take your recovery needs seriously with this kind of training program. So the last split I'm going to cover is actually the bro split, and as you can see, this one's kind of hard to organize your weak point training, because it's hard to get your frequency if you're trying to train something twice per week. It kind of doesn't really leave that much room for your other muscle groups by just hitting them once per week, because that's the idea of the bro split, is to focus on one muscle group at a time. And you still need your rest days as well, so you don't want to sacrifice rest just to kind of train every single day, one muscle group a day. I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, definitely it makes it hard. So what you're going to have to do is on day 1, to do this effectively, in my opinion, what you can do is you come in on day 1 and you hit your side delts, because that's what you're trying to prioritize, and you do your side delt volume of anywhere from 8 to 10 sets for that, and then you kind of want to do your bro split, so the next day you can do back, as you can see I brought it up on the screen there, and then maybe on your chest day you can throw in some side delts at the end of your workout or before your workout, just to kind of get that the rest of some of the volume in. And then if you needed it, you can even throw it in towards the end of your bro split there, maybe day 6. Then you could do side delts and then do your arms, since arms is kind of less of a taxing workout than your other muscle groups. So you kind of want to go in and do your side delts and then maybe finish off with some arms. But like I said, your other muscle groups are definitely biting the bullet here. I feel like they're not getting enough volume, and you don't want to be coming in and having your training session last like 2 hours just to get your back volume, or 2 hours to get your leg volume. So it does make it harder, but it is possible. Honestly, I'd probably recommend the push-pull legs. It's probably been my favorite split that I've been running. Currently, I'm working with my coach who's on a periodized training program, and it was kind of like a similar modified version of the push-pull legs, I guess you'd say. But yeah, honestly, it's much harder to get your volume that way. So I would recommend push-pull legs, but it is possible. I just wanted to show you that it is possible to still organize it effectively in a bro split. So now that we've covered volume and frequency, and we've organized it in one of the common training splits, I'd like to go over some of the exercises that I feel are the most optimal. In order to really bring up the side delts, you need to really target them like directly. So you need to do direct isolation exercises, I feel, in order to kind of make the improvements that you want to see in your side delts. Exercises like the overhead or the standing overhead press and the dumbbell press are really great exercises, and they definitely work the entire portion of your shoulder, your front, your sides, and your rear delts as well. So they're really great exercises for building that complete shoulder. But since our focus is really on just bringing up that side delt, we need to really focus on exercises that's going to do just that. So I think it's just true. I think it's good to stay true to those exercises and really focus on them. So with that being said, I'm going to be giving you exercises that directly isolate the side delts. So with that being said, let's move into the exercises that I feel are the most optimal. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to organize it over a 2-day training split. So I'm going to be doing day 1 first, and it's actually being included with 3 different exercises, and day 2 is going to be another 3 exercises that like I said, that I feel are most optimal. I'm going to be giving you the sets and the reps. So if you're ready, then let's just dive right in. So the first exercise is a seated dumbbell lateral raise. In terms of directly isolating the side delts, we really only have a couple options because the main function of the medial delts is shoulder abduction, which simply means raising your arm out to the side. I prefer the seated variation of this exercise because it can eliminate the urge to want to cheat the weight up, which can actually force the side delts to do all the work, which is what you want. A couple tips when you're performing this exercise is to not allow the dumbbells to touch your side because this will keep constant tension on the delts the entire time. This is why I think it's very important to pick a weight that you're able to control because the side delts is not a very big muscle, so they're going to try to want to get help from other muscle groups once the weight starts to get heavy. And in this exercise, I've actually programmed 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps, and this will actually kickstart your day 1, exercise 1 of your side delt weak point training. The second exercise is going to be another great variation of the cable lateral raise, and this is going to be the incline cable lateral raise. This is a great way, once again, to eliminate your ability to want to cheat the weight because your chest is actually going to be pressed up against the bench, as you can see here. The incline creates more of a resistance placed directly on your side delts, meaning you're definitely going to have to lighten the weight. As I previously mentioned, the main function of the side delts is through shoulder abduction, so you're very limited with the exercises that's actually going to directly work this movement pattern. But I feel like this exercise is great to include in your side delt training, just so you don't feel like you're always doing standing dumbbell lateral raises because they can definitely get boring pretty quickly. I programmed 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps, so make sure you're really developing that strong mind-muscle connection and by contracting your medial delts with each rep that you do. The final exercise for this day 1 weak point side delt training day is actually going to be the seated machine lateral raise. I have programmed this exercise at the end for a reason because your side delts should have a nice pump in them by now after the first 2 exercises, and I find using a machine is a great way to really finish them off. There's really nothing fancy here, just make sure you're not just going through the motions. You really want to focus on contracting your side delts and making sure they're doing all the work. A couple tips when performing this exercise is you can pause at the top for a second. I find this creates a lot more muscle fatigue. And don't let the weight stacks touch each other because you want to keep that constant tension on your delts the entire time. I've actually programmed 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps here. Make sure you pick a weight that will actually allow you to land within this range. If you can do 15 reps, then think about increasing the weight a little bit. Now we're moving on to day 2 of the side delt weak point training. At the end, I'll actually be providing you with a full summary of the workout so you can implement it directly into your training if side delts happen to be a muscle group that you're trying to bring up. So the first exercise of day 2 is actually the leaning dumbbell lateral raise for 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. This is another great option because it creates more of a resistance curve for your side delts to overcome, and honestly the burn with these are pretty insane. Definitely leave your ego at the door with this one and use a light weight to really increase the effectiveness of the exercise. The more work you can provide for your delts to overcome, the more you're able to target it and you're able to force it to grow. So I love all these variations of the lateral raises because it gives you some variety in a movement pattern that's very limited. The second exercise is going to be the cable lateral raise 21s, which is basically borrowing off the idea of the 21s for the barbell curls that you perform. So with this exercise, you want to perform 7 reps with the cable in front of your body. Then directly after that, you're performing 7 reps with the cable in between your legs. And then the final reps of the 7 reps is going to be with the cable behind your body. This is going to be hitting your delts in 3 different angles. And once again, this is giving you a much more exciting exercise to perform over your traditional cable lateral raises. And honestly, the behind the back portion for me is the hardest variation. And after pre-fatiguing your side delts with the first 2, it creates a tremendous burn in your side delts. I programmed 3 sets of this exercise, and as the exercise implies, 21 reps. And I promise you that your side delts will be screaming after this one. So definitely give this one a try, and I love it. The final exercise is the lying upright cable row, and this is going a little off course of directly isolating the side delts, but it does serve a purpose because it will be supersetted with the band lateral raises. The idea behind this one is to create a nice little burn in your side delts with the upright rows, and then really finish them off and completely burn them out with the resistance bands laterals. And in my opinion, this is the perfect finisher. If you find the upright row a little uncomfortable for your joints, then you can try the standing rope variation, which I also like, and you can superset that one with the resistance bands laterals as well. Either way, you're going to going to be creating the same effect. By now, you should have a pretty awesome pump in your side delts. And I have programmed 4 sets of 15 reps. But with the resistance band laterals, don't limit yourself to just the 15 reps. You want to continue until you basically reach failure. So that's going to conclude both day 1 and day 2 of the side delt weak point training, and I hope you enjoyed both of the days. Alright, so that's going to conclude episode 2 of my Weakpoint Wednesday series on side delt training. Like I said, I'm going to pull up the workout there. It's going to be the summary of both day 1 and day 2, so you're able to implement it directly into your training if side delts happen to be a weak point for you. The biggest thing with weak point training is just to be consistent with it and be patient with it. You can't expect results overnight. So I would definitely implement this if it's a weak point for you. Definitely stick with it for 6 to 8 weeks and really focus on one weak point at a time. I feel like that's the number one mistake that most people make, is they just try to focus on everything, and they end up getting overwhelmed and end up not sticking to the weak point training. So definitely follow for 6 to 8 weeks, and definitely include these variations of these lateral raises, because they definitely make the workout a lot more enjoyable. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also hit the bell notification so you get notified every time a new video drops. I have a lot of exciting content in the works. And if you haven't checked out episode 1 of my Weakpoint Wednesday series, definitely do so. It's on chest training, which is a very popular and people's probably #1 favorite body part to work for most people is their chest. So definitely go check that out if you're looking to bring up your chest. And if you like more videos from me, you can definitely check out my clean bulk series. That's actually more geared towards following my training. I also give insights. I give educational content, motivational content, nutrition information, everything basically that I feel that I want to include in that series is kind of what that series is about. So definitely go binge watch that. I have quite a bit of videos with that series already. And don't forget to like the video as well. It definitely helps promote my channel around YouTube, and it might expose someone who's interested in this type of content. So with all that being said, I hope you definitely took something from the workout, implement it into your training if side delts are a weak point for you, and I'll see everybody here next Wednesday. Alright, peace out.